Right now at 6 o'clock, a new development in the News4JAX I-TEAM investigation into hundreds of lawsuits filed against Ascension St. Vincent's and this former orthopedic surgeon. As we've been reporting, Dr. David Heekin is accused of botching surgeries while impaired by a progressive neurological condition that caused him to slur his speech and lose his balance. The lawsuits contend this resulted in devastating injuries to patients.
And now we've learned an appeals court recently ruled that 7 St. Vincent's employees must produce more than 2,700 text messages and images referencing Dr. Heekin that were on their personal phones as part of the discovery process for the legal action. I-TEAM investigator Ann Maxwell joining us, and the employees, they're still fighting this ruling.
That's right, Joy. They argue that releasing these communications would violate their right to privacy. And according to this court filing, they have a new attorney who plans to ask the appeals court to rehear their argument that those communications should be protected from discovery.
From 2014 to 2021, this court filing shows 7 St. Vincent's employees had more than 2,700 text messages and images on their personal phones referencing orthopedic surgeon Dr. David Heekin. Attorneys representing more than 400 patients of Dr. Heekin's are trying to get their hands on those communications. Curtis Fallgetter is an attorney who is not involved in the case.
Those records, according to the plaintiffs, they think will demonstrate that employees of the hospital were aware that Dr. Heekin was impaired.
The employees include an orthopedic clinical coordinator, an OR manager, a surgical services manager, as well as nurses and a surgical tech who worked with Dr. Heekin. Those employees aren't the ones being sued, but court records show St. Vincent's has paid the costs associated with searching their devices for electronically stored information in response to the plaintiff's discovery requests and their legal efforts to protect that information from discovery.
They would simply be witnesses to help establish, if they can, the liability of the hospital.
Among the plaintiffs is Anthony Bonk. He says he lost his wife of 42 years, Cindy Bonk, after a hip replacement with Dr. Heekin in 2018 went wrong.
An appeals court judge just ruled that about 2,700 text messages from some St. Vincent's employees about Dr. Heekin have to be released. The hospital had been saying, this is a privacy concern, these don't need to be released. What do you think about that?
My heart's about to jump out here. 27, this is the first I've heard 2,700. To heard of any text messages. I've heard of cases where people go in and demand that they not have to do surgeries with this physician.
One of the nurses whose texts are at issue said in a deposition she was in the OR for Bonk's surgery. She and at least one other member of Dr. Heekin's team testified they asked not to be involved in surgeries with Dr. Heekin anymore. So far, one text exchange allegedly between some of the employees whose text messages are being litigated has been disclosed by the plaintiffs in public legal filings. It says, we, quote, are going to both report him to the state, I think. He is out of his mind today. He's so confused, not making any sense, and can't form a full sentence.
Now, 2,700 more. Who knows how many more there are that haven't come forward. If that's what they admitted to, or somebody knows of 2,700, that's sad.
We reached out to the appellate attorney representing those employees as well as a spokesperson for St. Vincent's, but we have not yet heard back. And in court filings, the plaintiff's attorneys are asking for even more text messages from St. Vincent's employees referencing Dr. Heekin, including text messages from their chief medical officer and CEO. Live from the South Bank, Ann Maxwell, Channel 4, the local station.